Welcome to Journey of Enlightenment. I am your host, Dr. Roger Gopaul. It is my privilege to bring to you each week Vedic culture, Vedic philosophy, and Vedic traditions. Last week I met someone and he asked me a very pertinent question. The question is it true that we are our worst enemy? So I looked at the individual and I asked him another question, which is it possible that we are our best friend? So he looked back at me and we started a discussion. Are we our worst enemy, or are we our best friend, or are we an enemy to ourselves at times and a friend to ourselves at times? It all depends. We are so accustomed to having relationships with our spouses, with our parents, with our children, with our friends, with our colleagues, and of course, the list could go on and on. But what about the relationship we have with ourselves? The nature of that relationship that we have with our own self will determine the extent to which we are our worst enemy or our best friend. Many a times while growing, we look for a best friend in school. So we would usually have one or two best friends, and they usually remain good friends for life. Upon entering adulthood, we recognize that friends are important, but the relationship that we have with ourselves is more important than any other relationship we can possibly have. It is believed that we talk to ourselves more than we speak to anyone else. I remember once I was actually speaking out loud to myself as a teenager, and someone told me, you know, you're crazy if you are speaking to yourself, but you are more crazy if you are speaking to yourself and you start answering back. And I thought that to be true, only to realize that we do speak to ourselves all the time, and we do answer ourselves all the time. Research has shown that at least 60 to 70% of the conversations that we are having, we have with ourselves. We speak to ourselves and we answer back. Maybe it could be something as small as, what should I have for breakfast today? Or, what tie should I wear today? Does it match my shirt or my jacket? And we do answer, let's choose this shirt, let's choose this tie. Let's have this for breakfast. Let's not have this for breakfast. At other times, those self-conversations could be much deeper and far more significant, because those conversations can be life-changing conversations, such as, am I too old to start a new career? Am I too old to start a new degree? Do I want to move from one country into the next? Who is being impacted by these decisions? These questions that we ask ourselves is what we call self-talk. When we ask these questions and we answer to ourselves, that self-conversation will determine what we do, how it is done, and how we go about life. Self-talk is an important aspect of our life. So yes, we do speak to ourselves and we do answer back. We look at the Ramayana, and in a particular situation involving Queen Kaikeyi, she was influenced by her maid into believing that if Shri Ram took the throne, it will deprive her son of his rightful place, or what she believed to be his rightful place. We have looked at that aspect of Ramayana, and we have heard the conversation of the humbug maid towards the queen. The truth be told, that despite whatever conversation that was taking place between the humbug maid and the queen, it was the inner conversation of the queen that was the ultimate decision made. What was that conversation that she had within herself? What would she have been saying to herself? It is that self-conversation that would have determined whether she acted rightly or whether she acted wrongly. In the case of Queen Kaikeyi, she started convincing herself. She started believing that her son Bharat is the rightful heir to the throne. He should be the one sitting in that place. She started convincing herself that she should force her husband, King Dasrath, into making a decision that would eventually take his own life. She started convincing herself that Shri Ram, who was like a son to her, who treated her like his own mother, was no longer worthy of sitting on the throne. She convinced herself that Ram must leave. That inner talk, that inner self-conversation led to utter destruction of the relationship within the Dasrath family, within the household of the palace. She was not careful with her self-talk. We can't be our worst enemy depending on that self-conversation. What is it that we are saying to ourselves? What is it that we are allowing ourselves to believe? It is far more than what others tell us or what they try to make us believe. We are in control of our minds. It is up to us to make that determination in terms of that self-conversation. I was looking at a movie just recently, and a jury in this movie walked into the judge's chamber, and she pulled out a letter to give to him. Immediately, he opened the door so that his secretary would see, and he turned his face away from the letter, and he told her that I am not going to even look at that letter, so I cannot implicate myself. I will not even have a conversation with you, so therefore I am free of anything that you are about to say to me. The influences will be there, negative or positive, but it is up to each one of us to be aware, to reflect on the nature of that self-conversation. Is it positive or is it negative? We become our worst enemy when we constantly allow our mind to engage in negative self-talk. It not just work against everyone else that we seem to find negativity with, which is quite easy for any one of us to do if we are so prone to do so. And we allow ourselves sometimes to get into that habit, to find negativity in almost everything under the sun. Some days, the sun is just too hot. Other days, it's just too cold. Other days, why is this food not warm enough? Some days, the food is too hot. And we get our mind into that habit of always looking for the negative. It's not just looking at others and saying this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong. It is actually harmful to ourselves. In so doing, we become our worst enemy. I had a friend who grew up in an environment where she was constantly told that she's not smart enough for school. It is better that she drop out of school and do something else with her life. She's just wasting her time behind education. And believe it or not, the person who was telling her this was her own parent. That conversation then became so popular among the family that everyone started believing that going to school, pursuing education, had no value in it whatsoever. This child grew up believing that to be true. She convinced herself that she was not smart enough. She convinced herself that she's unable to have intelligent conversations with anyone at any point in time. She then met a teacher who encouraged her that in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. If she wants to do something with her life, then she needs to get the right education and the right experience in order to do more. She started studying. She started doing her degree. But internally, her self-conversation did not change. So in class, she sat at the back because she believed if she said anything or answered any question, she would sound foolish. When called upon by her professors to answer any question, she would barely speak because she believed that she had nothing intelligent to share. This started from the home. The conversations told to her, the conversations that she heard around her, the conversations that she heard about her, shaped the nature of the conversations that she had with herself. Her self-talk, her self-conversation was very negative. Now, a young adult searching for a job, she had that same sense of low self-confidence because of the conversation that she was having with herself. Even before the job interview, she will tell herself that she will not get through. There will be other candidates who are so much better than her. And she will convince herself that she will go and be disappointed. It took many sessions, many conversations with experts in the field to help this young woman reshape the nature of conversations that she's having with herself. Queen Kaike allowed that negativity around her to shape, to formulate the kind of negative self-conversation that she had. That negative conversation that she had drove her into utter madness. Kaiki almost destroyed a dynasty. You have to be very careful, very aware of what we are thinking and what we are saying to ourselves. With this young lady, she eventually learned how to change that self-talk, a little at a time, step by step. The first step for her was to recognize when she's moving into a negative state of mind. Just becoming aware of the thoughts going through her mind. Not trying to change anything just yet, but just being aware. Being aware that I am feeling down. Being aware that I'm feeling emotionally low at this point. Being aware that negativity is entering into my mindset. Just being aware was the first step. Then little by little, she began to tell herself a different narrative, a different story. Very simple words. I am worthy. I may not need to be the smartest person on the planet, but I am smart. And my uniqueness makes me special. And reminding herself every day, little by little, of these things, being aware of the negative self-conversation, it began to change. Time after time, the negative mindset gradually changed into a positive mindset. Confidence started rebuilding. Self-importance set in. And she was able to live a more fruitful, a more happy, and a more fulfilling life as a result. We can be our worst enemies. We can be our best friend. It all depends on our self-conversation, which determines the nature of the relationship that we have with ourselves. As we recap on what we did in today's program, it's basically paying attention to our self-talk, to our self-relationship. Let us not go about life being an enemy to ourselves, but instead, let us be our biggest cheerleader. Let us be our biggest hero, our biggest champion. Let us be our best friend. So on that note, I once again thank you. Please go onto my page, like, subscribe, and join me again as we continue our journey to enlightenment. Thank you very much.